Call this meeting of the planning board to order. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. May 16th, September 19th, October 3rd, November 7th, November 21st, and December 5th. We will defer to a later meeting. Move on to the possible extension or abandonment of applications pursuant to town code. First one being RVH Mulch Supply LLC. And we have a letter dated December 12th, 2024, addressed to the planning board, stating, "You may recall that on December 21st, 2023, the planning board granted conditional site plan approval for the RVH Mulch Supply project. During your June 20th, 2024 meeting, you extended the approval until December 19th, 2024, today. On behalf of the applicant, we respectfully request that the project be placed on the December 19th, 2024 planning board agenda for extension of the project's conditional site plan approval to extend an additional 180 days. If you have any questions or would like myself or the applicant to attend the meeting, or should you require any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you for your consideration. Dave Higgins, Lankin Tully Engineers." Sean.
So it would be a 6-month extension, would bring you to June 19th, 2025.
June 19th. Comments or concerns from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one thing. I just want to make sure it's in your minutes and
Please.
let the applicant know. After this extension in June, they have one more extension.
One more after this.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got some work ahead of them. Okay. Could I have a motion then to approve the conditional site plan approval extension to June 19th, 2025?
So moved.
Phil, second by?
Second.
Seamus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay. The next project requesting extension, Maplewood Village of Goshen, from ADC Orange Incorporated, addressed to the planning board. This project has previously been reviewed by the board, and a conditional preliminary subdivision approval, major subdivision, was acted upon on January 5th, 2023, with the resolution granting conditional preliminary approval signed and filed on January 18th, 2023. The planning board further extended Maplewood's conditional approval to December 19th, again today, 2024. We're currently diligently addressing the items raised by the planning board in the resolution of conditional preliminary subdivision approval. We want to thank the board for their cooperation and for granting us approval, and request the board to continue the cooperation by granting us an additional 180-day extension to the conditional preliminary subdivision approval. Signed, Dan Guerin, President. Sean, what do we have on this one?
Mr. Chairman, I am conflicted out on this one. So I actually can't.
Okay, so Ashley,
So it would be 2 90-day periods would be your June 5th, 2025 meeting.
do we have any comments or concerns from the board?
No comment.
If not, could I then have a motion to extend the subdivision approval, major subdivision, preliminary, conditional preliminary subdivision approval to June 5th, 2025?
I'll make the motion.
Marty, second by? Eric, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? That takes care of that. They'll be notified accordingly?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 69 Celery Avenue, otherwise known as SM Sales, formerly known as 19-1-87, an application for amended site plan and special permit for manufacturing on 7.62 plus or minus acres along Celery Avenue in the AI district with AQ3, floodplain, ponding area, and stream corridor and water supply watershed overlays. And we have before us the applicant and public hearing for this evening. Could you like to introduce yourself for the record, please?
Yes, good evening. Brian Newman from Blue, St. Shapiro, Franklin Barone, on behalf of the applicant. And also with me is Sean Brady from Engineering and Survey Properties, the applicant's engineer. We submitted on December 5th responses to Mr. Hoffman's engineering memo, and I believe we also, in a transmittal letter, addressed some of the questions that were raised by the board at the previous hearing. So I believe the main concerns of the board at the hearing were whether or not there's going to be any degreasing or other chemicals used at the property. I believe we informed in our submission that there was not going to be any degreasing or use of other chemicals in the industrial manufacturing use. And I believe we also clarified as to what the manner of trucks that would be coming and going from the delivery of materials and the picking up of the manufactured items.
Thank you. First off, do we have anyone from the public here for this public hearing? I do not see any hands raised. Okay. I will ask that once again when we open the public hearing. Sean?
I don't have anything for you, Mr. Chairman, other than just some history. This was at the last meeting. You discussed a number of items. The applicant, I think, tried to satisfy your concerns regarding those items. In anticipation of public comment tonight and possibly close the public hearing, you asked for a resolution which was circulated, and there were some questions in the resolution whether you wanted to include conditions relative to the items that you had questioned at your last meeting.
Comments from the board? Okay, at this end. Okay. In that case, we'll open the public hearing. I need a motion to open the public hearing. Diana, second by?
Second.
Phil, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is open. Anyone from the public that wishes to speak, comments or concerns, just introduce yourself, name and address. We'll get it into the record. Anyone from the public wish to speak? If not, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Marty, second by? Eric, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay. Ashley?
So we did circulate a draft resolution. I think you reviewed it previously. Did make a few edits in the specific conditions, and as Sean had noted, there's some placeholders in there in the event you want to add others. So the specific conditions begin on page 4.
Okay, we have-
Did you want to discuss the placeholders first, and that way in case you want to add something, then we
Please.
can run through them all? So the first would be whether there should be a condition regarding degreasing agent or byproduct.
We are making a stipulation that they shall not be used differently than what was being proposed to us, correct?
Yeah, this just confirms, the applicants indicated they will not do it, this just kind of memorializes.
So we would want to have it in the
that
resolution.
I think it makes enforcement easier, the building department wouldn't then have to track down that applicant's letter.
Right.
This is what I was asking my client.
And the next was a condition on the type, weight, and or frequency of delivery.
With that one, we had a recommendation as far as what was proposed. I don't know if I'd want to lock it in quite so rigidly. I think, use that as a guide, but, I think there needs to be a little bit of flexibility. I don't know how the board feels.
I agree. We don't have a draft of this, right? We do.
Well, we have the draft of the resolution.
Right, but is there proposed language about that you're reacting to?
Well, it's just, right now, it's just the red flagged items that are under consideration to be added to the
No,
resolution.
there was just a note saying condition on vehicles question mark.
Sorry.
The applicant, maybe you can finish for the board and the public, you said that you had identified that your transmittal letter, can you just summarize that for the board so they know what you're talking about in terms of truck traffic?
The proposed use will be manufacturing. It'd be 1,000 square feet of,
I guess I'm asking a question. I think
Just the vehicles in and out.
the vehicles are coming out. The client, told us, I'd have to pull up an email.
The number of truck trips.
I think it was one, I think it was 1 to 2 truck trips a day leaving the property, and one truck, I think the estimate was like 1 truck trip a week that was coming to deliver the materials for the manufacturing use, and then 1 to 2 trucks coming and going on a daily basis to pick up what was being manufactured.
You had a reference, Sean, in your correspondence from the 13th of September that said that the applicant's correspondence indicated deliveries will be made once per week and 1 or 2 truckloads of finished materials out each day.
That's what they had said
Yeah.
initially. I think you said 1 to 2 and then 1 a week, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
consistent.
consistent.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
do we want to actually,
It's up to the board what you want to do. You received a public comment on that, so we put it in there as a placeholder so you could discuss it tonight with the applicant and yourselves.
Phil?
Actually, what is the question?
Whether we want to actually phrase the condition as 1 load in per week and 2 loads out, I think it was per day? To be that rigid. Yeah, 2 loads shipped out each day, 1
You know,
load in.
It could change.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I think there has to be some element of flexibility
Yeah.
without getting either a plus or minus, or.
Approximately.
Yeah,
Some
something.
flexibility.
How about this end?
I agree. Can't make it that rigid.
Yeah, you
to
can't. Not in
one
that area.
specific truck.
So maybe.
Actually, approximately
So
1
perhaps
in,
it
2
could
out?
be a condition that if there's a substantial change to the amount of estimated truck trips in and out to the building inspector, they would have to come back to the planning board for further review.
Well,
So to say, if it's something that is considered
yeah, but
substantial
what's
beyond
considered
1 to
substantial?
2.
You
It
You
would be
know,
up
is
to,
2 is 100% increase.
Well, yeah, but it would be up to Frank's discretion, I think.
So if they bring in 2 trucks of material during that week, it's automatically
Well, no.
contrary?
If the building inspector thinks that that's substantial, then yeah.
Okay. So either way, it puts it on Frank.
It does, and I don't mean to
Yeah,
put you on the
I
spot,
mean,
Frank.
if we get complaints, and I have some language in the resolution
Okay.
that I could use as guidance.
Okay, so it's not something where you have to
I'm
monitor
not
the
gonna be
site?
going there to count
Okay,
trucks.
okay. So we could word it something like that, actually, that would work.
and the last one would be noise generation.
And that I would imagine applies to both noise from the equipment inside as well as truck idling on the outside?
Well, truck idling should be limited to 5 minutes pursuant to New York State.
Do we need to
DEC requirement.
memorialize that, or is that in the
I
town
don't-
code?
I don't think, no, I don't recall what's in the town code, but it's a state law, so I don't know if you necessarily need to
Okay.
memorialize that unless you feel that that could be an issue in this application. In terms of the noise, you have a noise code, and the noise code has certain decibels. You
Just to be in compliance with the town code, would that be sufficient?
you could do that if you'd like, yeah, if you think that it might be an issue in this particular case. I know they did provide some noise data.
The
I don't know
question
what
is,
it was.
Sean, I don't recall, are we near residential?
There are some residential properties in that area, specifically the distance, I don't recall.
Mhm. So it's the usual backup beepers, are the most irritating.
Well, this building is currently being used as a warehouse, is that right?
Yes, it was current special permit for a warehouse use.
So there is, I mean,
It's-
currently
it's
some
more of a
truck
change
traffic
noise.
that's generating and some truck noise that's generating. Yeah, I think it's the machine that's.
Don't be so logical.
What do you think?
I agree.
With,
I agree with this, there's not gonna be a considerable amount of truck increase than what they have right now. As long as they apply with the noise code.
Yeah. We could just reference the noise code.
Do you want to reference it, or it's in the code already,
Or-
so?
And just not even have it in there. It's probably not a bad idea to have it in there just to put it in front of everyone's eyes. I mean, the fact that they do have on-site, inside and outside potential for generating noise. We're not getting specific in terms of decibels.
Sure. Okay. So then the specific conditions will be number one, prior to the signing of the plans, the applicant shall, A, comply with the memorandum of the town engineer dated September 13th, 2024, to the satisfaction of the town engineer. B, submit an updated owner's endorsement. C, demonstrate to the satisfaction of the town engineer. The existing wastewater disposal system has adequate separation distances. In addition, the applicant shall perform a dye test and visual inspection. If the town engineer determines that the existing wastewater disposal system does not have sufficient separation distances, or is not functioning properly, the applicant must return to the planning board for further action. D, submit a revised site plan to the satisfaction of the town engineer if required by the building inspector. Number two, the parking area shall be gravel as shown on the plan unless the building inspector determines the gravel surface creates unanticipated nuisance or safety conditions, dust ponding, excessive maintenance, snow, ice removal, etc., at which time the applicant will be required to pave the parking area to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Three, the storage of hazardous materials shall be prohibited within 100 feet of the Walpole River, i.e. the water course, per town code section 9726D. 4, no outside storage of materials is permitted by this approval. 5, there shall be no degreasing or use of any chemicals in connection with the manufacturing use. 6, if in the building inspector's opinion, the number of truck trips substantially exceeds the number proposed by the applicant, i.e. 1 delivery per week and 1 to 2 truckloads of finished material shipping each day, the applicant shall return to the planning board for further review. And 7, the applicant shall comply with the town of Goshen noise regulations. I'm just getting the code site for that. Chapter 33A.
Okay, based on that, any questions or concerns? If not, could I have a motion then to approve?
Lee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Neil, I didn't see you there, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just have a question of Frank, really. When it comes to gravel, is that adequate for the handicap parking and the access to the building, or does that?
No, so the ADA stall should be paved and accessible to the building on a blacktop or concrete pavement, not gravel.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing, where it says about no storage of hazardous materials within 100 feet of the, probably should also recognize it should be further than 100 feet from any adjacent wells that was in the area. I assume that's going to be, but
Technically, it's 200 feet away from a well.
in any case, I think we should have that. Wells are included there also.
No, with the river, Sean, are we again measuring from the high water?
Yeah, there's a defined term in the code.
We want to have that in here as well?
I don't necessarily think
To
you
be
need to have
consistent?
that because, well, you have the code reference and that's what would guide.
It's in
that
there,
condition,
okay.
yeah. It's in
Okay.
that portion of the code, 9726.
And you also have in the general conditions that they'll comply with applicable laws, rules, and regulations.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did give it incorrect site. The noise code is chapter 70 of your code. And then you wanted to add in wells into the specific.
On number
condition
3.
number 3. And is it 100 feet or 2?
I mean, ideally, it would be 200 feet, because 200 foot sanitary control around the well, so.
So we're within 200 feet of any well?
Does that create an issue for the applicant?
I'm sorry.
Does that create an issue?
I'm sorry, I was talking with the engineer. Does what create an issue?
200-foot separation?
Between hazardous materials and.
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, hopefully you're not storing any outdoor.
Exactly, I'm not aware of any hazardous materials being stored outdoors.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so with that wording in mind, could I have a motion then to approve the,
One more,
amendment?
I'm sorry.
Neil?
We make, in the findings, we make a statement that there's adequate potable water, and did we confirm that?
Yeah, we confirmed as part of the original approval.
Okay, I didn't know.
A couple of years ago, yes, they haven't
Thank
made
you.
any change to the wells in the same location.
Anything else, Neil?
No, that's it, thank you very much.
Okay,
You sure?
No, I'm not sure about it.
you only get one chance, okay. Amended resolution of conditional approval, special permit and major site plan for SM Sales 69 Celery LLC as modified this evening. Could I have said motion?
So moved.
Phil, second by
I'll second it.
Diana, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And will you just transmit me, I guess, a copy of, will you transmit me a copy of the signed resolution when it's signed by the board?
Yes, you'll get a copy from the town.
All right, thank you.
Brian, were you in the Boy Scouts?
Yes, I was at Troop 62.
Oh, was you assistant scout master?
Yes, yeah, I knew Jordan from high school.
Yeah, I'm looking at the name, I'm looking at your faces, I know there can't be two of you.
No, only one as far as I know.
Bingo.
So many things.
Take care.
Yeah, they're
It's so
perfect. It's not even long.
Lots of unpack.
Scoutmaster conflict.
That's a new one.
No, assistant scoutmaster.
Assistant scout master concept.
There's statute of limitations on that, Jeremy?
Just keep getting deeper and deeper.
That's right.
What's an eagle, always an eagle.
No salute?
Huh?
No salute?
No, we're not uniform. Next item on the agenda is Marte Holding Group LLC, 15-1-71.4. We have an application for an amended site plan approval for 3 single-family dwellings on 9.854 plus or minus acres on Reservoir Road and Lower Reservoir Road, in the RU zone with the AQ3 stream corridor and reservoir watershed overlays. And again, tonight we're here for a public hearing. Do we have anyone from the public for this application? We will get to you. Thank you. Brad, introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good evening, I'm Brad Cleverly from MJS Engineering.
Okay, and if you, since we do have people from the public here for this application, if you give a brief narrative as far as what's being proposed.
Certainly. This is a site plan application for 3 single-family dwellings on a 9.854 acre parcel along Reservoir Road and Lower Reservoir Road in the rural RU zoning district with stream corridor and reservoir watershed and AQ3 overlay zones. At the January 18th of 2024 meeting, this project received conditional approval. Since then, the client has some concerns with the location of the dwellings and the driveway. The first basic revisions to the drawing in response to the client's concerns. The first 600 feet of the driveway were unchanged. It was straightened, moved, and then moved about 50 feet from the houses. The dwellings were previously 2 stories, 1,550 square feet. They've been changed to a single floor ranch of 1,950 square feet. This is resulting in a living space increase of about 25% and about a 50% increase in the footprint of the dwellings. They will still be single family, 2-family dwellings, and these projects still meet
Since that again, there'll still be single,
2-bedroom, single-family
2-bedroom,
dwellings.
okay.
Yes, 2-bedroom, single-family dwellings. This project meets all the bulk requirements of the town of Goshen. And then, you know, so we've presented here, these are the previous dwellings which were proposed, and these are the new dwellings, which will be essentially single floor ranches. And they're similar layout, very similar but different. So each of the dwellings will be located here along with the driveway to access the dwelling.
Everything else, wells and septic system, everything remain the same?
Yes.
Okay. Sean?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, so when this was last discussed most recently, it has come back to you for what the applicant's engineer indicated, that these were going to be 2 stories. They now have flattened out, increasing the footprint, relocating the driveway. They received conditional approval. We had a staff meeting with the applicant, and we indicated that if they wanted this is different than what was conditionally approved. If they wanted this, it would require amended approval, and they chose to appear before you for the amended approval.
Okay. No issues as far as the revisions in the design that you see from your engineering perspective?
No, there was some notes, some incorrect notes about the inverts, but I passed that on to Ashley to incorporate into the resolution if you choose to act on it.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the board? Neil, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I guess so. In the original EAF, there's a comment about archaeological sites, yes. I assume we got something from SHPO on that? I didn't see it in the, online.
I'll look.
Yeah, it would have been
Good.
probably in the original.
The other thing, I think there's a specific condition about doing some plantings, and I think that's a really good idea. But I think we should be a little more clear for the applicant and let them know what we're looking for.
Are you looking at the plan or the resolution?
I'm looking at the specific conditions in the
In
resolution.
the proposed resolution?
Right. There's a statement in there that we'll have more native plants, shrubs and pollinators to the western side. I think that's very vague, and if I was an applicant, I wouldn't understand what you're looking for. So I would think we should be a little bit more clear about what we're looking for. I think it might be helpful just to use the Appendix B in the zoning code and just say, hey, this is what we're looking for. And the third comment is really for the applicant. Most people, when they build a house, end up within the next year wanting to put in a pool. And I don't see any space on here for you to put a pool in. I'm okay with that, but most applicants do look for that almost right away. So if we want to do that, then maybe we have to look at making some space now.
While Sean is looking for that correspondence, Marty, you had a concern?
Yeah, what has changed with the driveway since the original approval?
It's just moved, that's why I'm glad you asked that. That's why I had one shade here, the previous location of the driveway. And then we moved it back away from the reservoir a bit, so it's over here. Just, a minor relocation of the driveway to better fit with the houses. Still a very similar length and similar area.
And did we have conditions in the original approval about what they would use for, or be allowed to use for de-icing on the?
I believe you did. I know there was a lot of concern, and the village of Goshen also expressed concern because of proximity to the reservoir.
Yeah, there were specific notes about that.
Yes, there was specific conditions, there shall be no application of salt or other de-icing agents to the driveway, and also no use of motor oils, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, chemicals, or any other pollutants that will enter the reservoir anywhere on the property.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just get back to that SHPO.
Please.
So, the original application and this application are both type 2 actions, so there was no follow-up for SHPO,
requirement.
there's no requirement to do so.
There's a comment on the bottom here, and it says, and it's just confusing, when I first read it, there was a statement there that says, no building construction limit.
No building, I'm sorry?
No building construction limit. And that sounds like either a statement that there are no limits. I think what we really know it is that that's the building construction limit there. You can't go beyond that. But it's a little bit confusing the way it's worded.
Is that referring to a building envelope?
It could be limited disturbance.
Limited disturbance.
Limited disturbance.
You have limits of disturbance also, but I think it's listed right here, I think. No, right here.
Oh, okay, there's a setback, that's part of it, what's in the deed of 100-foot setback from the property line, that there's like, it's on the filed map, so it's a reference back to the filed map.
Yeah.
So essentially, they can't build in that setback.
I think we understand it, but I think the wording's a little bit unusual.
Well, I can't change the final map, so.
All right, good.
Thanks, Brian. Other comments from the board? Again, what we'll do, I need a motion to open the public hearing. Eric, second by?
Second.
Seamus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay. Sir, if you'll just introduce yourself, your name, your address, and your concern.
Good evening, my name's Chris Healy, I'm a town of Goshen resident. I do not know the applicant, I do not know anyone who lives in the area. I have been following this project from the beginning, and it's given me concern from the beginning. To start, this board is a living entity, right? We're not gonna be here in 30 or 40 years from now, this will all be somebody else's problems, and the decisions we make today will live on. So when I look at a project like this, and if I understand it correctly, the applicant has said they want to make basically a family compound, and I love the idea, I do. But it is 3 buildings on a single lot, and those 3 buildings share a single well, and they share a single septic, which to me strikes me as problematic in the future. These 3 buildings are not going to be owned by the same family at some point in the future.
Well, there's an issue as far as subdivision. Sean, I mean,
Yeah.
this cannot meet both requirements if they were to subdivide it, right, with the way it's laid out?
I don't know if it can meet the bulk requirements. Looking up the response on the well.
Well, to that point then, going on, the 3 properties are accessed by a single common 12-foot wide driveway. And for the length of that driveway, that's not so much a driveway as that's a path, right? That's a very narrow driveway that has a 10-degree slope. They're climbing a mountain. That 10 degrees on a road is very, very steep during the summer. During the winter, if you can't de-ice with salt, that's not a driveway, that's an impassable path. You've got a hill with water running off, shaded by trees. It's a beautiful piece of property, but when a fuel delivery truck is trying to make their way down in February, that's gonna be a disaster. And I don't know that it's this board, if it's your responsibility to care, right? It's their property, let them do what they want, but I look at that and I say, that's a bad plan. I know the applicant wants what they want, I appreciate that, but I don't see this as a very good plan. I also want to mention because I do think about the future, and I do know that later on tonight we were talking about local law 13 and short-term rentals. So the applicant knows there has been a sea change just last week, right here in this room at the town board meeting, and there's talk of, instead of going with making a local law for short-term rentals, going the other way and banning short-term rentals in Goshen altogether. And I think the applicant should know that, because I look at that plan and I see those 3 beautiful buildings and I think Airbnb. What a great place to stay if you got kids and you go into Legoland. But there's a real possibility that won't be allowed at all in the town of Goshen. The applicant should be aware. Finally, I wasn't thinking really about the subdivision, but yes, my understanding is that in the AQ3, if you have a lot, you need 150 foot of road frontage for each dwelling. They're putting 3 dwellings on this property. I know on one side it's 216 feet. I don't know if they have access anywhere else, any road frontage, but it doesn't meet the requirements. This plan, as presented, I see stretches every boundary, every code that we have. And it's not just one thing, there's a whole bunch of things here that I question whether this is a good plan at all. We're not talking about a single home up on a hill, 3 homes, single well, single septic, that sometime in the future, somebody's gonna want to subdivide. You're not gonna sell 3 houses to one family. It's not reasonable to think that. Finally, I'm very concerned about the precedent. There is a very strong community in Orange County that would love to do these kinds of projects on single lots in the towns. And our codes protect us from that kind of building unless you allow somebody to do it, and now, well, there's a precedent for having done it. I appreciate you hearing me out. My name's Chris Healy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Sean?
I will try to answer those. If I miss anything, please let me know.
No, please do.
So, the road frontage, the original plan indicated a requirement of 150 feet in the AQ3, and provided 416, which I think is based off of the survey. Regarding the multiple dwellings on a single parcel, your code does allow for that under 9712. I'm just going to read from my memo of December of 2023. The code indicates a lot may contain more than one principal residential structure with site plan approval, provided the lot has enough acreage to satisfy the acreage requirements for each dwelling if the land were to be surviving. So in this particular case, it's in the AQ3, they would need a 3 per dwelling unit, which would be 9, and they're 9.8? 9.8, okay. Further, again, I'm reading, further, the dwellings must also comply with the septic system requirements and the environmental control formula. So your code has a formula based on the existing soil types to make sure that you have a certain amount of, let's say, good soil on line of report. In this particular case, because of the way the water and sewer has been set up, it's at the health department for approval of both the well and the sewage disposal system. I do not recall if you had received that approval as well.
Not yet. We hope to, after this meeting, hope to apply to the health department,
Okay. So if they were not to get that, right, then Chairman, you wouldn't sign the plan
Right.
and it would eventually expire out. So the water and sewer, it's essentially out of your jurisdiction in this particular case. I think I might have addressed it. Oh, the driveway slope, the 10% is the maximum allowed. We've had multiple discussions with the applicant going back to the original application. I agree with Mr. Daly, I would not want to maintain this without the benefits of de-icing agents. But the applicant's been made aware of this on numerous occasions and indicated to them that this is not a problem. And short-term rentals is before the town board right now.
Now, so as far as the 3 residences on the single lot, can that be a restriction or a restriction in the condition of the approval that it shall not be subdivided or it must be maintained as a multi?
So currently, there's a condition that says no subdivision of property is proposed as part of this approval. No sale of any portion of the property can be accomplished without 1, compliance with the town code, and 2, returning to the planning board and receiving subdivision approval.
Right, but that still allows it to happen, the
They
way
would
it's
need to
worded.
though obtain
Is there a
subdivision
way to
approval, and if
have
they're
something-
unable to,
Just something to prevent it now or in the future,
well, I
as far
don't
as
think it would
subdividing.
prevent them from applying to subdivide it, whether they'd be able to get approval, they would need, I think, variances if they don't meet the dimensions of the code.
Just the very layout of this project would make it extremely difficult.
I know it would be, I'm just I'm thinking in just terms of the opportunity is still there, even if they have to go to the ZBA, we're giving them that opportunity to break it up into 3 individual lots off of a single driveway, which is what we typically don't want, unless it's brought up to town private road standards.
Yeah, right now in your code has a prohibition against common driveways. So
Right.
you just can't have that. You can have what's considered a private road, which would essentially be a municipal road construction that's privately owned. So in terms of, if you're worried about the driveway, there is provisions and protections in the code right now. I don't know if that totally satisfies your concern, but that's what's in there.
What do you think, Ashley?
I don't know that there would be a reason to restrict their ability to apply to seek a subdivision in the
So
future.
basically, we give them the opportunity, but it could always be denied down the road based on
doesn't-
design considerations?
Yes.
Phil?
I don't know why we would restrict it if the code allows them to come back for further consideration. And part of that consideration could be their obligation to undertake to seek a variance. So I'm not uncomfortable with allowing for the possibility of they coming back and we considering it at that time.
And even though it's in the watershed for the reservoir,
That's part of the consideration.
protecting it.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's any reason to look askance at this particular application relative to any others. We've got a code and they'll comply with it.
I agree, but I have a different issue. I'm more concerned about that 10% grade. More so because of the reservoir. Okay, so going to that oil tanker that's coming up the driveway. Other than salt, I mean, one would want to melt the ice, right? because that truck is going to go down.
A lot of sand.
So just, either a lot of sand, is there an alternative?
I grew up in Rockland County and I in Piermont, and a lot of those steep driveways there were heated. I don't know if that could be something that the applicant was considering or not. It's a long driveway, which would be definitely costly. But, you know,
But the code allows them 10%,
code allows
even
up
if
to
there's
10%.
no melting agents allowed.
Correct. The code doesn't have any provision that
Doesn't
if the salt
differentiate
is not allowed, that it has to be reduced to say 6%. There's nothing like that in the code right now.
Wow. Because from an applicant standpoint, wouldn't that be like a liability on their end regarding that oil tanker if it flips going down, maybe going into the road?
I stand by what I said before. I've
Yeah.
had multiple conversations with the applicant about this, going back to the original applicant before this applicant. And, you know, we've spoken to the applicant's engineer numerous times about this, and they say that they're okay with this. I wouldn't want it for myself, but, no, I don't have to live there.
I'm just concerned that maybe they'll be forced to use salt, and then we have the reservoir as a concern. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so, but it's like anything else. I mean, you just had an applicant say that they're gonna have, you know, they're gonna comply with the noise regulations. I mean, they're gonna have to comply with this. If, you know, if they get, observed, allowing salt, it would be enforcement actions for the building department. You have, you know, the village there too, Reg is very mindful of this project, and my thought is that they're gonna be keeping an eye on it as well, because it is, you know, it's the reservoir.
Because of the reservoir, that's
Absolutely.
To your point, Eric, Sean, would not, what if we were to limit the use of, on the driveway to the use of sand as opposed to salt? The salt, the concern is the reservoir.
The chlorides, yeah.
Yeah. I know that I had a driveway that was rather steep, and I would much rather use sand than salt. A much better gripping agent. And we had to use it in the snow. So what I'm thinking is, what if we were to limit it? Not allow for the salt, and to limit the use when necessary on the driveway to sand or some similar agent.
I think right now it's allowed. I think that's what they were considering using, was sand. You haven't.
We didn't preclude it.
No, not yet, no.
I don't know what I would.
You have a prohibition against de-icing agents, and I don't think that falls under that category.
Right.
Is the proposed driveway gonna be paved or is it gonna be gravel?
It's gonna be a porous asphalt driveway. It'll be great, it'll be paved.
I don't have any further questions.
Seamus?
Everything seems to, the appliance is there, and features, variance if they have to come back to us for it. They seem to be set to go, and they've qualified all of the things that we asked them to do. So I think it's time for them to go.
Strange way to put it. Diana?
Well, we approved it the last 2 times they've been here with the difference, so I don't see what the problem is. And you don't necessarily need to put anything on the driveway depending how long the snow will last around here. I can justify that with my driveway. And I've never used salt or sand, and we still make it up and down, so I don't think that's a problem either.
Are you a 10%, Diana, do you know? Do you know?
Do I what?
Are you at 10%?
Oh,
Right.
I'm probably more than that.
She's probably more than that,
What
but it's
am I?
gravel.
You're probably good 15.
Yeah, probably,
Yeah.
yeah, I figured you would know, yeah.
The reason why I ask, because on
And
my
there's a
driveway,
turn
I've had
on
2
it too,
cars
so-
going to the road, down my driveway.
I've got
Now you
16%.
salt.
Salt doesn't work.
I'm over 15%, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I don't think there's a problem.
Now, we have a public hearing that's still open. Any other comments?
Wait, for us or for the
Well,
public?
I'm gonna do both.
Okay.
Are we satisfied here right now?
Yeah, I don't have it.
Chris, are you good? Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this one?
So could I address our neighbors or soon-to-be
No,
neighbors?
well, you would be addressing us, not your neighbor.
Yes, could I address you, which in turn, the neighbors would be listening as well?
Oh, they could listen, absolutely. If you just give your name and everything like that, and get it on the record.
Hi, so, hello guys, so I'm Jacqueline, this is my husband Carlos. We currently live in Monroe, and our plan is to move to Goshen within the next couple of years. So, the last time that we presented this to you, we did have this idea of doing the 2 levels, which was great. And it was actually your suggestion, because we were talking about moving our parents in, how are we going to have them go up the stairs? And at first, it's like, yeah, that's fine, they'll be fine going up the stairs. But since we were here last, our brother-in-law came to live with us, who is autistic, and he has the beginning stages of Parkinson's. So here we are now in our home in Monroe, and we have to constantly watch him because, I mean, he's doing great. It's not that it's bad, right? But it's the beginning stages, so inevitably it will progress. And so stairs is a big deal. And so that kind of changed everything for us, and here we are. Now, we had to modify it and make it 1 level. As far as subdividing in the future, I can't speak for my grandchildren or their children, but we're trying to create a legacy here. So this is not something that we want to sell. We're trying to retire here, have our parents retire here. And so hopefully we can do that for a very long time. But once we're no longer here, you know, we can't control what happens at that point. So thank you for your time. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks,
yes, the oil, oil. Let me tell you. Well, this summer in Monroe, we had an oil leak in our crawl space, which then had to have an excavator come. $15,000 later, we will never have oil in another house that we live in. Okay? So we're hoping to create a very small environmental imprint here. We would like to go electric in Goshen if we can. You know, we gotta see what that costs and everything else, but it definitely will not be oil, so we won't have to worry about oil trucks trying to make their way up the driveway. So thank you for your time.
Good plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Sir?
Yeah, hi. I'm Nick DiCostanzo of Goshen, New York. You know, my concern is these 3 homes on this, this property. Now, it's, how do I say? My concern is is the water, the water pump, and the leach field. How do you have a leach field for 3 homes? You're gonna have the one area of the property, the piping, and I know there's gonna be problems. So I could see 1 house on a piece of land with 3 houses with piping and leach field on one part of the property. It's not gonna work, simply not gonna work. That's my concern.
Thank you. And then, as was stated before, that will be reviewed by the County Department of Health as far as compliance with codes, sizing, tying it back to the size of the, well, three buildings, the number of total bedroom count. That's how they're gonna size it. The pumping system, it's gonna be pumped. You know, all that's gonna have to be reviewed by the county. Other comments, questions, concerns? If not, then could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll place a motion.
Diana, second by.
I'll second.
Seamus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay. Ashley?
So we did receive comments from the county planning department on this application. We did have binding comments as they did when this was last approved. They were largely the same, and there was one initial comment where they said in order to mitigate the increased impervious surface area as a result of the amended site plan by adding additional native trees and pollinator shrubs between the reservoir and the proposed homes. So we did incorporate that condition as we had incorporated in prior binding comments as well. It was also referred again to the Village of Goshen, so they had the same comments and asked that the village be notified before starting construction so that the DPW can monitor the reservoir. So these have all been incorporated into conditions, and I could go through those now. Number one, prior to the signing of the plans, the applicant shall A, comply with the December 1st, 2023 memorandum of the town engineer to the satisfaction of the town engineer. B, receive approval from the Orange County Department of Health for the proposed sewage disposal system and on-site water supply well. C, submit a stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWIP, to the satisfaction of the town engineer and be reviewed by the town under the MS4 permit. The SWIP shall confirm the adequacy of the proposed stormwater collection, conveyance, and treatment practices. Prior to signing the plans shall be updated to correspond with the SWIP. D, post stormwater construction completion and maintenance guarantees pursuant to the provisions of Town Code Section 80C-13 with the town in an amount to be established by the town board upon recommendation from the town engineer. E, amend the site plan to include native trees, shrubs, and pollinators along the western side of the site and in place of the proposed grass areas to the satisfaction of the town engineer. F, revise the site plan to correct the stormwater drainage invert elevations to the satisfaction of the town engineer. G, amend the site plan to add additional native trees and pollinator shrubs between the reservoir and the proposed homes to the satisfaction of the town engineer. H, submit the renderings presented at do you want the applicant to also submit the renderings presented at this evening's meeting? I don't believe those have been.
Those were not presented to
No.
us.
Do you want those for the building department's file?
They should be, yes, showing what the proposed single level structures are intended to look like, or reasonably look like.
So it will be submit the renderings presented at the December 19th, 2024 meeting showing the design of the proposed dwellings. And I don't know if the board wanted to discuss the landscaping, those two conditions about adding, if you wanted to add a reference to the town code appendix.
Now, specifically with the town code appendix, does that define the number and spacing
So
of the various?
buffer yard illustrations. It would be, you could reference the appendix and that would be sufficient to specify.
That'll satisfy the county's concerns as well as, those two,
Yes, there was two of them, so
There
I
were two
would
of
just add at the end of those in accordance with appendix B.
on E and G.
Exactly.
Okay.
Two, no subdivision of property is proposed as part of this approval. No sale of any portion of the property can be accomplished without, one, compliance with the town code, and two, returning to the planning board and receiving subdivision. Three, at no time shall any of the buildings approved herein be used in connection with the operation of bed and breakfast or short-term rental, i.e. rentals for less than 30 consecutive days. Four, the light levels must be limited to 0.1 foot candles at the property line, so no off-site glare will result. The fixture shall meet IDA LEED or green globes criteria for nighttime friendly or dark sky lighting. Five, prior to any site disturbance, the limits of clearing and disturbance shall be identified in the field with appropriate signage, flagging, and or fencing. The signage, flagging, and or fencing of the limits of clearing and disturbance shall be posted conspicuously on the site to the satisfaction of the building inspector. Six, prior to commencing any site disturbance, the Village of Goshen shall be notified so that the Village Department of Public Works can monitor reservoir conditions. Seven, there shall be no application or use of motor oils, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, chemicals, or any other pollutants that will enter the reservoir anywhere on the property. This shall be included as a note on the plans and within the approved SWIP. Eight, there shall be no application of salt.
Instead of the word will on that, can be more appropriate? Pollutants that can enter the reservoir?
That can. Eight, there shall be no application of salt or other de-icing agents to the driveway. Nine, any and all fill proposed to be imported to the site must first provide proof of where it came from and its quality to the building department. 10, any and all blasting operations shall be conducted so as to not endanger the health, safety, and welfare of persons and the safety of property, including but not limited to that of adjacent landowners. Any blasting operation shall be carried out in compliance with chapter 58 of the town code. If blasting is to occur, the applicant must post a 3-year bond to ensure against any potential damage caused by such activities.
Any comments from the board? Are we good with those specific conditions?
It's pretty restrictive.
Okay.
I'm good with them.
Okay. In that case, could I have a motion then to approve the resolution of conditional approval amended major site plan for Marte Holdings Group LLC as prepared and revised this evening?
I'll make the motion.
Marty, second by?
No second.
Seamus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
No, you did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I understand the same level. They're sure.
You don't my driveway.
You better get out of there soon.
Maybe I'll look for it.
Simple same.
Next item on the agenda, is Lorden Enterprises LLC, Northern Bear Pet Food Supply, 20-1-39. We have an application for a site plan approval for retail and service businesses on 3.58 plus or minus acres. New York State Route 17M in an HC district with an AQ3 overlay. And if you would introduce yourself for the record, please.
Yes, good evening, I'm Vince Peterzak, here tonight with our applicants, Lori and Dan Wislowski. You want me to go into the?
Well, yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, first of all, since this is a public hearing as well, do we have anyone from the public for this application? Not at this time. Okay, so provide us a description of what's changed on the project since it's, and what's being proposed now for us to review.
Well, since we were here last, actually, Northern Bear is the pet food store.
Yes.
Which has been at this location for over 40 years. Dan has a landscaping business which operates out of the rear portion of the building. And they have 2 rental units in the corner, about 1,000 square foot each. There's 43 parking spaces and everything is existing. The 2 rental units were previously the hair salon, which was there for about 13 years. And we're here today because the previous plans had never gotten signed by the planning board. So we need to get a reapproval and new plan signed so that they can rent out the 2 units.
Okay. The landscaping application that you have here in the rear, what does that entail? What type of equipment or storage of materials?
Well, I have dump trucks, pickups, machines, and I store firewood in the back, and I have...
That's all outside of the building, all
Yes.
these items?
Well, all the trucks and equipment's inside.
Okay, the trucks are inside?
Yeah, I keep everything inside. But the outside, it would be like the firewood, I got pavers, like bricks and blocks and rebar and stuff like that.
Do we have an area defined on the plan, Vince, that actually shows the limits of where the landscaping material would be stored?
Yeah, the landscaping would be in the rear of the building, in these areas here. There's a retaining wall that runs along the back
Along the
slope.
back of the slope?
And he's storing the items in front of that. The firewood is stored in this section here, which is surrounded by concrete.
Thank you. Sean?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So I distributed written comments back in November before the applicant made their initial appearance. Do you want me to give a brief overview of those?
Please.
Okay, so As the applicant's engineer indicated, this was before this board in 2011 for an amended site plan approval. The original site plan approval from 1983 had 2 retail uses, and I'm just gonna stop for a second. I just wanna confirm, I sent Nick from your office the 1983, I just wanna make sure that you had received it as well.
Yes, we did.
Okay. So like I said, 1983, they got approved for 2 retail uses. In 2011, after the applicant bought the property, they appeared before you with 3 retail uses and 1 service business, which was the landscaping. That was conditionally approved in December of 2011. However, it was never converted to a final site plan. It was never signed, right? There were a number of conditions that the applicant had indicated actually in March of 2013 that they were struggling to comply with. And that's when it kind of just fell off the map. Kind of. So what my report did was it summarized some of the findings that you had made in December of 2011, and it identified a couple of other items for you to consider. One item was the outdoor storage that the chairman talked about. At your last meeting, we talked about the code prohibition against storage of outdoor storage in the side yard. It's not allowed. It also looked as if the applicant's lot pile may be encroaching on the neighbor to the south. Can't really tell, it's just an aerial survey, but just based on some of the landmarks there, it looks like it may be encroaching. And we also did discuss at that time a possible variance for parking in front. In the 2011 application, the building inspector made a determination based off the 1983 plan that they were allowed to have up to 15 stalls in the front, and that currently they have more than 15. So if they want to keep those stalls, they would need a variance.
You would question whether it was a major or minor project.
Yes.
Did we get a resolution on that?
I
Ashley?
believe it was major because of the amount of space being changed.
The reason for the question, Mr. Chairman, was that when this originally came in 2011, it was a major. That was never finalized, but some of those improvements were put in. I don't think you take those improvements out, so I still think it should be major. I just wanted the board to be aware of that determination.
The hill behind that's 94. And the hill behind the improvements seems to be rather high and rather tall. Is there a question about compliance or?
Yes, well, yes and no. In 2011, there was a requirement for them to provide certification that the grading, from the licensed professional, the grading was such that it would be stabilized. I can read you the exact requirement if you'd like, I think it was in my report. What the applicant submitted at our last meeting was a certification from an architect that the shore retaining wall was built in compliance. So that really didn't satisfy the concern. I still think.
You still have the back slope above it.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it, and I think I don't consider that stabilized.
Mm-hmm. So that's an open question.
I believe so, yes.
As far as the storage, you said, no storage on the side. Do we have storage on the side right now? Is it extending beyond the?
You can't tell from the plan. I was just basing it on an aerial image.
Okay.
We do, and I'm going to move that note out of the side yard.
So we're gonna shift the storage area
Yeah, we'll move it.
totally behind the structure.
Correct.
I have to tell you, I've passed there many times when the Goshen gym at Remy Plaza was open. And it looked clean to me. There didn't seem to be aesthetically a problem. What did catch my eye was the height and steepness of the hill behind it. And I thought to myself, well, someone must have approved that.
Should have. Jeremy?
Yeah, we had a good discussion about this the last time.
Comfortable?
I'm good. So am I.
I have the same problem as Phil with the
Back slope.
backyard. Yeah, that retaining wall doesn't do anything, that's what I thought I mentioned 2 weeks ago. But other than that, whatever.
Vince, are we gonna be able to get somebody back there to, professional to certify to the slope itself above the retaining wall? The stability, so we don't even have any rock slides and.
Well, we can get a hold of Kevin
collapses?
Patton, have him take a look at it. He's the person we use for all our soils were.
As long as he's got the credentials.
I
to
can
do it.
ask him. I don't know what we can end up with.
It doesn't even look appealing as you're going by it. It has all the ruts from the rain coming down, and it looks unstable.
Well, that's looking and being a few different things. Yeah, but we want to make sure that it's stable.
Yes, we'll get something that Sean will be happy with.
If it makes Sean happy, it'll make me happy.
Let's talk process real quick. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. They're here tonight for a public hearing.
Right.
They likely will need a variance, because I don't think they want to give up that parking in the front.
In the front.
So, and then that, I presume, if the board was comfortable with being a condition, or if you are not comfortable doing it that way, you could require that you have that before you take any action on any, at all.
Right. Okay. There's no other comments from the board. I'm going to open up the public hearing.
I have something to say.
Oh, you can't say anything yet.
Oh,
Let me open the public hearing. I know you're the applicant, but let me open the public hearing first. And then feel free to say whatever you want to say. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Phil, second by Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Against? Okay, public hearing's open. Your floor.
I just have two
Just-
things to
again,
say.
just introduce your name for the
Lori
record.
Waslowski, owner of Northern Bear Pet Food.
Okay?
My dad opened it 42 years ago. We've lost a ton of money not being able to rent. We just need to get it rented. I just don't understand why we can't rent the rental. And I'm very emotional right now. I apologize. He's gonna yell at me later.
Don't yell at her later, please.
But I'm just emotional because we've lost a lot of money. And we've done everything you guys asked us to do. 18 years ago with me, when my store burned down to the ground. We just need to get it rented and get this done with. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public want to speak on this one? Other comments from the board? Neil?
I have no comment.
You're good, okay. Nothing at this end?
No.
Would it be appropriate to close the public hearing?
If that's what the board.
I mean, we don't need to
Yeah.
receive any certification on the slopes or anything like that, or the variances for the ZBA before we can close the public
There's
hearing.
no more comments.
That's what I'm saying, so we could close it if I have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Marty, second by? Phil, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? So the public hearing is closed. Next step would be,
So it does require the variance for the parking that's in the front beyond the 15 that was on the prior.
and that is your intent to have more than 15 parking stalls in front?
We have how many?
I think it was like about 30,
30 something.
Do you use all them? Do you need all those for the various tenants?
Well, Northern Bear, my store, we usually use, I have a good amount of customers.
Okay.
We usually do about four people at a time. The rental, which was next door, she used probably about 10 at a time. I have 2 workers at
Okay.
all times, so I
So you
mean, no,
need,
we
you
don't.
need more than 15?
Yes.
So you would have to go to the ZBA then for the variance?
We do have, we already did all that.
Oh, okay, terrific.
Wait, you received
No,
variance?
but we have all the.
The parking is existing, but I don't believe there's variance.
Right, that's something they would need before we could sign up on it.
Yes, and the application was referred to the county planning department. You did receive a local determination. They had some advisory comments on that.
I like advisory comments. Okay, so,
So the next step would be for the applicant to go to the ZBA. I don't know if this board actually does some work.
do we have to make a referral? We don't have to do that, okay.
No, we mentioned the applicant last time, they could go right to the ZBA. That's why I questioned, have you made an application to ZBA yet?
No.
Okay.
So those would be items that need to be addressed, going to the ZBA again.
What's the ZBA, where, do I go there
Yes,
myself?
we will go there.
You'll work with Vince on that.
Okay, okay.
Get the application in, make the presentation, and they'll make a determination as far as the additional parking stalls.
Okay.
And then Vince, you'll take care of the stability issue on the slope.
Yes, sir.
If the board wanted to authorize a resolution, be prepared for whenever they return back to you.
We could do that, if one of the board is concurrent.
Yes, sure, just, yep.
I have a motion to authorize council to prepare a resolution for approval. Eric, second by? Phil, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay.
Great, thank you.
You got your work to do, we have our work to do.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
All right, hold on.
Thanks.
Now, we still can't rent it, right?
Right.
Until we go to the ZBA.
Right.
We gotta get on it.
For the parking spots?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can we just talk about that for a second?
Oh,
Just
by all
wanna make
means.
sure they understand. You have approval for 2 rentals, right? I know you have 4 spaces. You have approval for 2 retail. The one use that's not allowed is actually the contractor, or, the service business, which is the contractor. So you can have 2 retails on there from your 1983 approval.
Actually, that one rental that's next door it was approved for 2 rentals, but,
It wasn't. That
Mr.
approval
Halloran
expired.
then approved it that, the old salon could open up and do, she used both sides. So
Okay.
it's really only one rental.
Okay.
It's only one rental, Northern Bear, who's been there forever.
Okay.
So per the 1983 approval, you have approval for 2 retail uses, one being Northern Bear, and then the second being
Whatever else.
the adjacent unit.
Yeah, I don't know about 1983, I didn't own the building then.
That's the approved site plan that's on the file.
Uh-huh.
So there is the ability to have 1 additional retail.
You have 2 retails. The use that really is not permitted is the landscaping business. And if you're only using, Northern Bear, and then you have 2 other rentals, but you're using them as 1.
It is one.
So she can rent
They
it
can rent that
then?
out.
Or does she have to go to ZBI first?
Well, she needs that from before you issue, because I think he wants his landscaping business at this site. That's a non-compliant use right now.
Which has been there for 16 years since we bought the building.
That's not the issue.
Being there.
Well, I don't know, I sell dog food, okay?
What he's saying is you could rent out that retail space.
I can rent it out. As of tomorrow, I can say,
As one. You can't have 2.
no, it's one, it's one. We opened it up, we took the firewall down, we
There's one
did,
big open,
But you could rent that out.
it's been one rental for the last 13 years to
Yes.
Chrome Design.
Sean, do we need a variance for Dan though, for his use?
Yes, you need site plan
No.
approval for that use.
You need
Site
site plan
plan.
approval, you need the
Site.
variance just for the parking.
Okay, good, I just want to make sure
Okay.
of that.
As long
Thank
as
you.
you're moving the storage out of the side yards, that'll comply.
Right, okay.
Okay.
we're
Thank
good?
you. I just,
Good, you got it?
sell dog food.
Thanks, have a good night.
Thank you for clearing that up.
I know.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. We thought that was clear at the last meeting, but obviously it wasn't.
Next item on the agenda is Girdle Lot Line Adjustment 19-1-117.1 and 117.21. We have an application for a lot line adjustment along Maple Avenue, County Route 37. Girdle Lane, which is a private road in an RU zone with an AQ3 scenic road corridor overlays. And we're here this evening for an initial presentation to begin the secret process. Brad, welcome.
Good evening. As previously, I'm Brad Cleverly from MJS Engineering. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Yes, sir.
If you just give us a presentation, what we're doing here.
There are 2 existing lots, which this is a subdivision of. There's one existing agricultural lot, which is here. And there's a second lot, which is residential, which extends this here. And sadly, Janet Gerda died, the owner of this lot. Went to her brother, and that he would like to subdivide, or do a subdivision to make this lot smaller and to be a more usable lot layout. The configuration would be that this would be residential lot. This has an existing dwelling along with this existing septic system. This has had a plot plan which is on record. This is, and then, so this would be one lot. You would get access to Gerda Lane over this easement, or this access easement. This would be another lot, and this would have access to Gerda Lane, and also there would be access, so say this person could drive across this lot over to this area of their lot. Mr. Gerda happens to live here. He would have access along this easement, so he would be able to drive from he has an existing driveway over to Maple Avenue. He would be able to drive along this existing pavement over here to Gerda Lane. So there's a single easement with multiple, this would be for use of Mr. Gerda. This would be for the use of lot number 2, so they could travel this way back and forth along this driveway, and then this would just be for access out to Gerda Lane for this house. This would be a subdivision. No physical changes to the site are proposed.
You said again, the house on lot 2?
There's no house here.
That's just a proposed to show they could support a house.
Right, there's nothing here. This is from the filed map, just to demonstrate that it could be a
can
house.
work.
Yes.
Was any soil testing done on that particular lot?
Yes, it's a regular filed map.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Mr. Chairman, have you ever seen something that looks pretty straightforward, and then as you get into it, it just unravels and
Well, don't say that.
This is one of those cases, right? So it does look pretty straightforward, right? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just start out with some of the easy things to check off, right? So and Brad, can you help me? There's 2 uses. There's an agricultural use on the other lot that surrounds, and then there's a residential use. So both uses are permitted in this zone, right? So that's a good thing. This requires a public hearing. That's not out of the ordinary. Where things start to go a little bit sideways are on the access to the rear lot. Originally, that one thought a lot line adjustment, and I thought that this looks like a lot line adjustment too, right? You have 2 parcels, you're gonna have 2 parcels, you're just moving land from one parcel to the other. But in this one, it's complicated because the proposed lot, the square residential one, doesn't have direct access to Gerda Lane. It actually will access Gerda Lane via an easement over lot 2, and then over what's called a private road, which spans 2 other lots. And one of those lots, I think, might be its own lot. So you do have provisions in your code for rear lots. I can go through those a little bit. Ashley has done some research in connection with some of the prior approvals. I believe there might have been some approvals that may be somewhat beneficial to the applicant. I don't know if the applicant knows about those. But there are some requirements for rear lots. There's some dimensional requirements. Let me just jump into what the code defines a rear lot as, just so we're all on the same page. So the code does allow access by rear lots. The code requires either a minimum frontage of 25 feet on an improved public or private road, I don't think that's what they have in this case, and an access strip, or a deeded right-of-way easement providing legally adequate and physically practical access to a public or private road. I think that's what the applicant is looking for right now. The other item that complicates this somewhat, something we talked about earlier, and that's the common driveway. The code prohibits common driveways. This use has existed for a long time, so I don't know if this would be a legally pre-existing non-conforming condition, or if this would be something that you would consider waiving as a common driveway, because keep in mind, common driveway regulations are under your subdivision regs, which you have some general authority to waive anything, okay? And we can talk about what that standard is.
Is there any provision in the ag district for common driveways? I'm like, something like
They're
celery.
in the RU, right?
This is strictly
Yeah.
RU?
Everything else around it's the
Yes,
AI,
RU.
but this is RU.
Okay.
So I know I just made it much more clear for everybody, right?
Clear as mud.
To make it even more clear, Mr. Gerda has like primary access over to Maple Avenue. And this lot will have, well, simple driveway access over here to Gerda Lane.
So the issue is really on the residential lot on lot one, the small carved out one.
Yes, where it's just gonna be essentially for this lot to drive from this portion of his lower lot across that, call it the driveway.
So currently that's lot one on the bottom?
Excuse me?
That's proposed lot one on the bottom?
Yes, this is, lot one.
So currently has frontage on Gerda Lane?
That's correct, yes. It
So
currently
by the plan,
extends,
only you'll be taking away that frontage and just having access via the easement?
that's correct, substituting the frontage on Gerda Lane for the access easement in accordance with the rear lot regulations.
So it looks like at some point during a prior subdivision, the applicant did get a 280A variance for this lot one being directly on Gerda Lane. It was subject to filing a private maintenance agreement, an easement agreement, and it looks like there is something on file for that. I'm not sure if you plotted the actual courses for that to see if that's accurate or not, but that would be helpful if you could do that. So it looks like there was a 280A variance granted at one point, but they are now changing, instead of having this lot directly on Gerda Lane, it's going to be just via the common driveway or private easement.
Is it possible for that lot one to have a tail that parallels the easement as part of that lot one, so it actually outlets on Gerda
Flag
Lane?
lot, I
The
think,
flag lot, yeah.
We
I think
discussed that.
would make sense.
You had a reason that you weren't interested in that. We discussed that at the staff meeting.
Well, this is the lot configuration that Mr. Gerda prefers, where this would be a standalone, and it does fall under that rear lot requirement, so this is what he prefers to go with.
It would still be a standalone lot, it would just have a tail off of that lower corner of the lot,
Essentially where that
paralleling the
driveway
easement and
is,
meeting
so
Gerda.
So you're saying to switch out this ownership of this easement from lot two over to lot
Well,
one?
not even switching the old easement, just literally just adding a little piece of that lot two that's on the side of the lot one. If you were just to come in off of the
parallel to the
easement,
road.
go parallel with the easement, with the driveway coming off of lot one, so you'd have like, it'll be a rectangular lot with a tail.
So it would need a 25-foot frontage, so the tail would have to be 25 feet
You could just,
directly out.
yeah, this could be, what you're saying is like, this would be, instead of being part of lot two, this would be part of lot one.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I can present that to him. You know, if that would make it easier.
I think that.
That would resolve that issue, wouldn't it?
Partially, you would still
Partially.
need to, can you just point to Gerda Lane, that's private road? There's two components. You would have to make sure that those are both private roads, those meet the definition of a private road,
Based on town standards?
based on the town definition of a private road,
Mhm.
yeah.
So it does appear that the front portion of Gerda Lane is actually its own SBL, and it has its own owner, but then it seems to trail off, so it's a little odd. I'm not sure why it is that way.
And if it weren't a private road?
Wouldn't be allowed, you wouldn't be able to access the rear load requirements in the code. The rear lot, I'm sorry, the rear lot requirements, right?
Yes, in order to have a real lot, it does need to have
Private.
Private
either
road
minimum
standards.
frontage of 25 feet on an improved private or public road and an access strip, or a deeded right-of-way easement over lands, providing legally adequate and physically practical access to a public or private road.
Didn't we have some discussion about this road for the Gerda's
Yes,
application? There's like a weird.
It's one and the same road,
Yeah.
but this is a little bit different because we're dealing with a subdivision residential lot.
I thought I remembered there was some maybe confusion about where the property lines.
There was, yeah.
Are some of the property lines for this particular?
I don't know if they overlap or are consistent. There was an application on the adjoining Gerda parcel that Engineering Properties prepared. It hasn't been finalized yet, but you may want to exchange survey data.
Certainly. Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, if they could do that tail, as you said, and that tail could be 25 feet wide.
Right.
That crosses one of the complications off your list. The second is for the private road definition, that's actually.
That Gerda meets the private road definition.
That's a defined term in the code. I would make a recommendation that the applicant provide you some sort of confirmation, some sort of written justification why this meets that definition. Then the last hurdle is the common driveway, right? Code prohibits common driveways. I don't know if the applicant previously received, and we're talking about common driveway for the lot to that house. So I don't really understand why they need that, to be honest with you, because they have another driveway that horseshoes out and goes out to Maple. But it is a complication, and the applicant has to figure out how they're gonna deal with that. It's
Well,
prohibited.
can you do away with it?
Well, the thing is, like, Mr. Gerda lives here, and like, Gerda Gardens is over here. He'd like to drive, as he has probably for decades, just driven over his sister's lot, you know. Because I don't know if they had a formal agreement or whatever, but he would just really like to continue to drive from his house over here, and it is an existing paved surface. There's no construction. It's for periodic use. So it's not gonna be a primary access to Mr. Gerda's residence, which is off of his frontage on Maple Avenue, but he would like to be able to use it. So that's, kind of where that comes from.
We have, you said shown waiver authority?
I'm sorry?
We have waiver authority?
Yes, so like I said, common driveways are prohibited, and I'm gonna read from my report.
But he does have a driveway access to Maple Avenue?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be his primary driveway?
Yes.
So as far, yes, yeah, but as far as the additional,
So maybe it's not a driveway after all.
I mean, what he's doing to take the shortcut down to Gerda Gardens, does that even matter to us if he's got an approved driveway out to a primary road?
You're saying that other driveway makes this no longer a common driveway?
I'm just saying that's essentially what I'm saying, yeah, because the
It's
main
not how they
driveway is
get
out to
their-
the main
they
road.
have
it gives them the-
access.
legally makes
They
them-
don't need that driveway for access. This is essentially letting their neighbor drive over there.
I think that's a
their
really
property.
good definition, that this is the driveway,
So, a
therefore this is
common-
not a common driveway.
You can be revoked at any time, right?
So a common driveway is defined as a driveway serving between 2 and 4 lots, owned in common or created by reciprocal easement. So this driveway does serve, it'll serve at least 2, because you're still going to have it serve this lot too. And then it
Well,
also
it
serves
really
out
wouldn't,
to
in
the-
some ways, it doesn't serve lot 2, because this guy already has a driveway, which
He was
is
right out to Gerda.
here. He just wants to be able to drive from at the back of the lot
No, Brad,
over this
it
portion.
serves 2 lots,
Okay,
not lot 2.
okay.
I think he was proposing to
Yes.
have it also serve lot 2.
It's really,
It does serve,
To get to the left corner, so that, to get to this side.
Oh, that's gonna provide access to that portion?
yes, so,
Oh, and yeah, then 3.
but this is already part of his lot. This is already
but
part.
I guess the question would be since, and I am just thinking this through now, since it exists already, it's already perhaps approved as a common driveway. I don't know if this prohibition was in place back when it was approved, the subdivision was approved, I think in '98. And in that case,
That's right.
I'm old, but I'm not
Neil,
old.
were you here, 98?
No.
No, okay. So I think this is also similar, right? The applicant knows the issue, and I think they need to come back with you with a solution. The solution might be, this is a legal pre-existing non-conforming, here's the plan that was approved, and here's what was built, and, then that solves that.
and I think also to either in the alternative or include with that is address the waiver standard in the event you will be needing a waiver from the common driveway prohibition, and that's in section 8332. So whether it's inappropriate because of, or in conflict with environmental, agricultural, scenic, or historic resource protection, whatever, one of those standards that's in the waiver section. I know you gave an explanation as to why you're seeking it, but it needs to fall under 8332 for the board to consider. So this would be considered a minor subdivision, that's shown in red, so it does require a public hearing. It would be an unlisted action under secret. And it has been referred to the county planning department.
Is there any conflict with the well being 18 feet off the property, the proposed property line?
For a residential well.
I got a question. A lot of times when folks do this subdivision of property, they never really take into account how the existing dwelling is fed electrically. And is that dwelling fed through the other lot, underground or whatever? Because once you do this, now you have a trespass of some type that you're creating between two lots. And then down the road, when they're sold, then it's a problem. Because that dwelling doesn't have rights to have their own, that person's owned underground facilities on someone else's property.
I'm gonna have to confirm that with you. I have to look at that and get you.
Because I don't see any of that written here where it's fed.
I'll get the answer on that.
And that would be satisfied by grant of easement.
Well, they would have, one property owner would have to give another property an easement for that underground deal. So if you're gonna do that, you gotta do it now and not forget about it, because
Certainly.
when the lots are sold, everybody's got it.
When one
Yeah.
gets sold, yeah. And the other one says, get that off my property.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
We better stop talking.
Would it be appropriate at this point to set a public hearing, or do we need to get a revised map first?
It's up to you.
How does the board feel?
Well, if the applicant thinks he's gonna be prepared to address the issues.
Certainly, and I think it'd be really good to get the public's input at this time, sooner than later on this.
I agree with that.
Chairman?
I think the public should see a more evolved version of it, but
I agree with you.
So, we discussed earlier, we were looking at sort of a rendition of a flag lot.
Right.
I think we might wanna
Put that in.
see that before we, bring the public to comment on it.
Well, from the public looking at it, this would be a solid line, not a dashed line. So I don't think they're gonna react too much differently.
I do think that the other point that we discussed was this is all, the ability to have this rear lot in the first place requires there to be a private road under the code, so to make sure it does fit that definition.
Well,
Looks like it. Is that one?
was that? No, I was gonna say, if we were to set a public hearing for some date out there, could be contingent on providing our engineer with the document and council with the documentation that demonstrates that it actually is a private road or meets the private road standards. Because if it doesn't, then the whole plan kind of unravels at this point without a major revision. Would that be appropriate?
Yeah, the only risk you run is, let's just say the applicant can't get that proof to you and can't demonstrate that it's a private road, and then you've already sent the notices out, So it's difficult to have people from the public come in to comment and then say, well, no, they didn't actually meet what they're supposed to meet, and there's no public
But
hearing.
we do have a website and
I
we
understand
post
that.
our agenda, hopefully.
Or if you could require the notice, so if you pushed it out, maybe not to your very next meeting, that the meeting can follow.
Well, I was thinking like the second meeting of January.
That way, in the event the applicant doesn't submit what's required or it's not confirmed by the time
Then the
notices
notice
have to
wouldn't even
go
go
out.
out.
Exactly.
Because if we put it to the second meeting in January, the 16th, they would have to get you the information by the 2nd of January,
And notices
which gives
needed.
more than enough time to have the 7 days for the notice to go out for the public hearing. Is that
That's
right?
fine.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, certainly.
How about the board?
Brad's been working on this on Christmas morning.
He only has like 4 days.
I know, he doesn't know what he disagrees
He only has 4 days.
He's not going away for the holidays. He's hanging
You can
out.
start now, it's only the 19th.
That's what Juan's for.
Phil,
I'm fine.
Chairman.
I feel the same way as I did before, but not very strongly. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Marty,
I'm good with that.
Seamus,
Good to go.
I'm fine.
Diane. Okay, so,
And just, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to interrupt, but seriously, do you think you can meet that deadline?
It's pretty tough. If I don't make it, I won't make it. But I'd like to schedule a public hearing. If by January 3rd is not in, I'll just.
January 2nd,
January 2nd.
day after New Year's.
Oh, I'll send that email.
Why don't you just push it back a couple of weeks?
Yeah, let's do that.
First meeting in
Let's do
February.
that.
First
First
meeting in February?
First in February.
Okay.
Yeah, first
Let's
meeting
do
in
let's do
February.
that.
We could do
Make
that.
it safe.
Which
Don't
we-
worry, we'll tell your client you fought for this.
I did, thank you. That's my story.
February 6th.
Could I have a motion to set the public hearing for Girdle lot line adjustment for February 6th, 2025?
I'll place a motion.
Diana, second by?
I'll second.
We have that by Marty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Thank you very much.
You got it, Brad. Have a good night.
And a motion to classify the action as unlisted under secret.
Okay, could I have said motion? Unlisted action.
Motion.
Phil, second by.
I'll second it.
Diana, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, unlisted action.
Thank you.
You're good. Have a good holiday.
You too.
It's better
Well, we
now.
gave him a good time.
That'll be good.
It's better now.
He gets out of this room, he lets us a sign of leave.
Okay, let's see where we are here.
All right.
Next project.
That took a long time.
McGowan lot line adjustment, 18-1-1.1 and 1.22. We have an application for a lot line adjustment along Milburn Road in RU zone, AQ3 and stream corridor reservoir watershed overlays. Again, we're here for an initial presentation to begin the seeker process. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Jim Dillon, representing both applicants. We have two pieces of property here located in the RU zone, AQ3. Brian and Chelsea McGowan own this lot on Milburn Road, which is it's a about a 2 acre lot. The neighbor, which is a vacant piece of property, has 58 acres just adjacent to him. What they would like to do is simply convey a piece directly behind the McGowan house, which is their existing property line is right here. They want to just strike a line right here and convey this, I call it parcel A, onto their existing lot.
Clean.
Nice and clean, very, very simple. No construction, nothing, we're not doing anything with water, sewer.
Sean?
Mr. Chairman, you know how sometimes things. This one is straightforward.
Oh, okay. You get to stay.
This is your textbook,
It
town
looked-
made lot line.
I went ahead of you and said it looked like a clean application. So
Yeah,
I didn't want to make it look bad.
It really is. Yeah, I gave his written report on it as I do in all lot line adjustments. It's exactly as the applicant indicated. There's really no complicating factors whatsoever. I asked them to add a note to the drawing, really to Eric's point before, that there's no utilities that you can visually tell on the site. Yeah.
Right, we could add that.
Seeker, it's a type 2 action, and it's not considered an action for GML unless Ashley says otherwise.
Your write-up was longer than his presentation.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot of things I just want to
Yeah,
maybe put
so-
into the record.
Sure.
I think this actually cleans up
Yeah.
an electric trespass
Oh.
that had existed. Because the whole line ran to the property lot, parcel A, and then back to the front parcel, so this actually cleans that up.
Yeah, it's all one parcel.
Yeah.
You're in luck, Jim.
I see that, I didn't even, I didn't notice that, but.
Good things
Does
come,
clean up.
good things come to those who wait. To the
Well,
end of the meeting.
originally, I'm sure this lot came out of this at one time. I'm sure it was one piece originally, way back, so they probably cut the front out.
And
That's when the problems occur.
Now we're bringing
That's- yeah, that's when-
now we're bringing it back.
That's
We're
when it
cleaning
happened.
it up.
Okay. So,
So it is a type 2 action under seeker, and I did refer this to the county previously, so haven't seen anything from them or not, but it would be appropriate for the board to classify it under seeker and authorize drafting of a resolution.
So, but it's been less than 30 days
Yes.
since the county received, okay. Could I have a motion then to type this action as a type 2 action under seeker?
So moved.
Phil, second by. Seamus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Could I have a motion then to authorize council to prepare a conditional resolution of approval on this application for minor subdivision?
I'll make the motion.
Marty, second by.
I'll second.
Phil, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarity, it's,
Yes.
you said minor subdivision, it's actually a lot line adjustment that occurs, different type of application.
Okay. That would be a lot line adjustment.
So moved. I mean, whoever moved, I second.
It's a revised motion, it's a lot line
Okay.
adjustment.
All right.
It was Marty and Phil.
I stand by my original.
Stand by? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
And this does not require a public hearing since it's.
right. Do we have to formally waive it, or we don't need to because of the
No,
type of
just
action
it's not required.
for the lot line change? Okay.
Do we
You
have
have
to
a
come
question
back,
for us?
Lee?
You do not have to come back for the resolution.
Can we, no, but can we do a resolution subject to the local determination by the 239A? That's what we're waiting for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. They're unable to do a conditional on the county response.
Okay, can't vote unless you get the 239A back.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, I'm just asking.
yeah.
Never
Never hurts.
Never hurts.
You can put it on your next agenda, assuming they get back. They've been getting back soon enough to have that electronic system, but every now and then some fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
And how it was, I don't know, but we could try to get it on your meeting.
Set it for the January 2nd meeting?
Yeah, sure.
What else do we have on that meeting?
I knew you were gonna ask that.
We'll formalize it afterwards, but I don't know what kind of loading we have on it.
The only other one is Bachman.
Okay, so it's not an issue. Could I have a motion then to set this on the agenda for January 2nd, 2025?
Oh, please,
Diana, second by?
I'll second.
Seamus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay.
Okay, I appreciate that, that's fine. Thank you very much.
And happy holidays.
You too. Yeah.
January 2nd to consider the resolution. Okay, next item on the agenda is introductory local law number 13 of 2024. Local law amending the Town of Goshen zoning code, chapters 97, to add provisions related to short-term rentals. And this one I'm going to give to you, Ashley.
I think Sean has an update.
Yeah, can I
I'm
just
going to
take-
give it to Sean.
So just coincidentally, I was at the town board's last meeting where this was subject of a public hearing. And the town board requested their attorney look into, rather than the local law that was referred to, look into a ban. So elimination of the use for consideration throughout the entire town. That would be a separate local law. So I don't know, pending that, whether you want to table this, because if you send them the comment, you know, it might just be a waste of your time right now to send them comments, they're going to change it altogether.
We should hold
Could
off.
be a waste of our
We should hold off.
Yeah.
Quick question on that, what would happen in that case, implement the ban to the existing folks that do that, use it in that manner?
It is now unpermitted, and the problem is the enforcement of that unpermitted use.
Seek forgiveness.
Perhaps it might be a grace period for those who already made reservations, but that's up to the town.
That's up to the town board, I don't handle that. But I know they have council looking into it, and I believe it's on the next agenda, first meeting of the next New Year, but I'm not sure.
So, hold off on this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do we need a motion to hold off on it since it's on the agenda? We don't need to do that?
No.
Okay,
not necessarily.
okay. In that case, that was the last item on the agenda, so Sean,
Just those two
January
items.
second meeting.
Just those two items, the McGowan lot line adjustment resolution and Bachman.
Bachman is the one with the garage, the three-car garage infringing.
Well, is that a gift?
We've been around for a while.
Yeah. They didn't show up in a couple of months.
That's why I didn't do
If there's no other issues, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
I'll place a motion.
Diana, second by? Eric, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against?